All right, that's a wrap to the song, but a start to our webinar. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us and making time for this webinar. I promise this will be 60 minutes well spent. Today, we have the second occurrence of the webinar with Autonom8, where we showcase our platform and what it could do for automating customer service with A8 Studio and Gen AI. Joining us today is our host for the evening, Ranjit Padmanabhan, who's also our co-founder and CTO. He will be taking us through this webinar. Please feel free to put in your questions in the Q&A section, and I will be orchestrating the questions and Ranjit's responses as we take it towards the end. We will leave ample time for questions, so keep them flowing, and we will compile it so that Ranjit can answer each one of you as we go along. All right, over to you, Ranjit. All the best, and let's get started.
Yeah, thanks, Ranga, and welcome everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. So first of all, let me check, is my screen visible?
Yes, it's visible, Ranjit.
Great. So thanks again to all of you for making the time to come and join the webinar. As Ranga said, we'll spend about 50 minutes on this webinar, leave some time for questions. The approach is going to be, I'll start with a few slides describing what we do at Autonom8, which kind of sets the context. And then we are going to specifically focus on using Gen AI for customer service and to enhance the customer service experience. A few short slides in the beginning, followed by a bunch of different demos. So let me start by describing what we do at Autonom8. Our logo is enabling the autonomous enterprise. And the idea here is that in very much the same way that you saw the evolution of autonomous vehicles, where they had intelligence, the ability to make decisions, the ability for a human in the loop, and all of these kinds of things, we believe many of those same concepts are applicable to enterprises as well. So we think of that as the autonomous enterprise. So just to describe our platform in a bit more detail, first let me define the word platform. So what we mean by the platform that we sell at Autonom8 is that we give you, the enterprise, a low-code studio along with a collection of components with which you can assemble your own workflows. And actually, we have a more broad perspective on workflows. We think of them as customer journeys. So for example, if you're a banking institution, you can think of a customer journey being where someone comes and applies for a loan, and where the loan gets processed in the back end and a decision gets sent back to the customer. It's a full end-to-end customer experience. In the context of customer support, this may be a situation where someone comes in to ask for support on a particular product, for example. And this information then goes to the back end. You may have an agent assisting you, or you may have the whole process completely automated. And eventually, the customer goes back with a response to their question. So if you look at the model of a customer journey, it generally starts with a customer approaching the enterprise. They can approach you through any channel, which could be virtual or it could be live. And we call that the intake process. We have low-code modules that allow you to create these intake experiences either via chat or via apps. And that's where most of my focus is going to be today. But just to give you a full picture, once the information comes in through these channels, you have a back-end business process that kicks into gear once the information comes in. And this consists of multiple people working together, integrating with different systems like CRM systems, ticketing systems, and so on, and resolving the customer inquiry or question or request. Now, while these customer journeys are going on, we also have a real-time analytics capability that is looking continuously at the business process or the customer journey and giving you insights and recommendations on where this can be improved in the future. It comes with a few important capabilities like detecting sentiment, identifying anomalies, and things of that nature. So let me now kind of drill down into how our platform is used broadly to solve BPO use cases. Now, BPO is a broad term, and really what we want to do is focus on automated customer support. So if you look at the benefits to the customer, we provide conversational AI for personalized interactions, and in this, as the topic suggests, we're going to talk about how we can use Gen AI to create these conversational experiences. We enable customers to come in through all different channels with support for text and voice. Separately, the same kind of capabilities is applicable to helping agents. You can help them during the call by providing whispers or recommendations on how they should respond to a particular customer. And finally, there's capabilities once upon completion of the call to summarize it and store it and learn from it. And then if you take a step back and look at the benefits to the enterprise as a whole, you have a whole set of integrations with workflows and the ability to extract knowledge from customer experiences and share them within your organization. So I said we had a platform, and I showed you kind of the model for a customer journey. Our platform actually consists of these 6 modules, if you will. So one way to think about it is like Microsoft Office. You have a collection of different modules that independently do very useful tasks, but are even more powerful when integrated together. So that same principle applies here. We have a chat platform that enables you with a low-code interface to create chats and dialogues. And during this process, incorporate LLMs and GPT and all of these new technologies as well. We have a capability for a UI to build and create UIs for app experiences, contact center, and on the back end, we have a collection of low-code tools to create these end-to-end workflows. A8IQ is our analytics engine, and it's sitting at the bottom of everything we do. So anytime a user interacts with an enterprise, that information goes into our engine, and we're able to actually make use of it and learn from it. As I said, today I'm going to focus on the front-end conversational platform and the applicability of Gen AI in this situation. Now, everyone's been using Gen AI. There's lots of APIs available. And so you have many teams of developers who've been using the APIs and getting great results and all of that. But you need something more to make this truly an enterprise class product. And these are the features that come that we bundle together as part of our product for any enterprise that's seeking to automate their customer support with Gen AI. For example, quite often, most of the time, Gen AI or let's take GPT, for example, will give you good results, accurate results, but not all the time. There's issues like hallucinations. There's issues like lack of, staleness of information and things of that sort. So what you want is the ability, anytime you get a response from a backend model like GPT, to have the ability to curate it and fix it so that the better response can be used in the future. As with all conversational experiences, we provide kind of a personalized contextual capability so you don't have to repeat yourself. And I'll show you all of these things in the demos. There's seamless escalation and de-escalation to support agents. The whole chat conversational experience can be customized to your content. This could be structured content, unstructured content. And again, I'll show you demos of this. Now, on the infrastructure side, anytime you use a backend model, you're incurring an incremental cost. And these costs can add up really quickly. So what we try and do is provide you with the capability to manage your costs. And we do this in a few different ways, like giving you access to different models that you can use based on the specific use case that you have, and do a trade-off between cost and the quality. So for example, you might get almost as good quality with a different model that might be 10% of the cost. We give you all of that wisdom in our LLM management console. There's rule-based capabilities for you to create these dialogues and conversations, so they don't always have to use a model. You can sometimes divert and use traditional NLP and traditional techniques to respond to user questions. And then these are supported with all sorts of guardrails for security, accuracy, scope, and so on. I'm going to jump into demos now. And by the way, the way we have this set up is, we'll have the questions at the end. So please hold off on your questions or start typing them into the Q&A box. And I'm happy to answer them at the end. So I have a few different demos showcasing Gen AI capabilities as part of our platform. And the first one I'm going to start with is called the Travel Assistant. The travel assistant looks at a collection of unstructured data. For this demo, we have actually used the data from the website Lonely Planet. Lonely Planet has about 300,000 pages on the web. And as you know, this is unstructured data, but it is public data. The objective of this travel assistant is to give informational responses to people who are searching for travel information. For this particular use case, we have found that GPT 3.5 is a very suitable model, the right price point. And for those of you who care about some of the technicalities, under the hood, we're using an approach called retrieval augmented generation. And I'll explain that as we move forward through the demo. The key highlight here is that due to our partnership with Google, we run in Google Cloud by default. We have a partnership with them, and so we're able to take, we don't scrape any site. Anytime you want us to actually create a chatbot for any given website, we can configure that in less than an hour, assuming that the website is a public website. So now I'm going to jump and just show you, this thing in action. What you see on the right side of your screen is our demo console, and I'm going to start off the travel assistant.
And Ranjit, if you wouldn't mind keeping them side by side so that the right window is almost you're touching the right. Yeah, or you could expand it.
Yeah, I can do that. I have a few other windows that get hidden behind Ranga, so it's anyway. Sure. So I'll take care of it.
Sure.
Yeah. So okay, so let's start with the first question. So the first thing is that the travel assistant introduces itself, and I'm going to type in a question that says, what's the best time of year to visit Italy? Now, here's what's going on. For any time I type in a query, we're actually looking at the index of the Lonely Planet site, just the same way Google does, pulling out information that is specific to the question that's being asked, assembling that together, and then sending that to the GPT model to collate, sending that kind of as a prompt, if you're familiar with that kind of approach. We create a prompt, send that to the backend model. The model assembles the information and presents that in a very user-friendly form back to the user. So there's two things going on here. The first thing is that we are constraining the contextual information that is sent to the backend model with authoritative information that's taken from the website. So this really minimizes the possibility of hallucinations and incorrect information. The second part is that for every result, we can actually give you a link back to the page on the site which provided the maximum value information that went into this response. So let me ask a follow-up question. So the follow-up question is, do I need a visa? And in this case, obviously, when in a conversational mode, you know that we're talking, the context is Italy. So, broadly, the question boils down to, do I need a visa to visit Italy? And you'll notice that, the conversational AI was able to understand that and give you a response on that specific point. But now, so Italy, so I use the topic of Italy to provide context between the first two questions. Next question I'm going to ask is, and to visit Morocco. I'm actually switching topics here from the topic of Italy to the topic of visas. And as you can see, the system is able to kind of follow the trend in the conversation and, provide information about, visiting Morocco, the visa requirements for visiting Morocco. I'm going to switch gears now and ask, so you can think of these as being somewhat general questions. I'm going to switch gears and ask a multi-part, very specific question. The question is about the Lal Bagh Botanical Gardens. This is an attraction in India. And I've asked a bunch of different questions. Normally, in any Q&A type environment, when you ask multiple questions, you have different pieces of, different places from where this information needs to be pulled together. And that is one of the capabilities that this RAG technique gives you. It's the ability to pull information from different places and put them together into a response. I'm going to switch gears here now, and I'm going to type in a question which was specifically found from the website of Lonely Planet. This was a customer complaining. Now I brought up another window on the left side of my screen, which is our live agent window. So this is, think of it as a text-based contact center. So I'm typing in the question. Your website gave me incorrect advice, and now I am stuck in Tunisia. Now, what's happening here is that the chat is able to detect that there is negative sentiment associated with this particular question, and then based on that, there's a rule that says I want to transfer me to an agent. So now, rather than this person conversing with the virtual agent, they're actually conversing with a live agent. So this agent can say hi, and you can see the information show up here. So as you can see, there's a conversation going back and forth. I won't dwell on this, but I just wanted to show you the ability to escalate to a live agent, and then the agent can complete the chat, and then that switches back to the virtual agent. So I'm going to show you a couple of different things that should clarify the power that we can provide through this. Everything is not just GPT based. You can do certain things that are rule based, and this becomes important under certain situations like upsell. So let's say Lonely Planet has an agreement with VFS Global. VFS Global, as you know, is a company that provides visa kinds of processing, and you can set up a rule for Lonely Planet saying anytime someone asks a question about visas, in that case, I want you to forget about getting a response from a model or something like that, but go route me to the particular service that VFS Global offers, and I can click on this service and it'll show me a video and all of that. The final question I'm going to ask here is something that is kind of off the wall, has no bearing on travel, and the goal here is to show you that we put in place guardrails around scope. And so anytime there's a question that's considered out of scope relative to travel, the virtual assistant is able to detect that and say, hey, hold on, my focus is on travel. So that was the first demo I wanted to show you. Let's go back and show you to the second demo. So this was the travel assistant. The second demo I'm going to show you is a retail assistant. In this case, the data source is structured, and it is stored in a Postgres database, in case you care about that. It's basically a retail database with dummy data, and the objective of this chatbot is to provide precise responses to any customer who comes and asks questions about the orders that they have placed. For this, we have found that GPT-4 is a much better cost, ROI model for you to use, and so we're able to use that model in this particular scenario. The approach is basically, since you're querying a structured database, you need the ability to take what the user says and automatically generate these queries that will run on the database and pull the data for you, and then display that in a user-friendly form into the chatbot. And so the highlight of this particular demo is that you can handle pretty complex database operations. Again, I'll show you this in action. I'll reset here and then go back here and show you what the backend looks like. So the first thing I wanted to do is just show you the database before I get into it. Let me start the retail assistant up. And for demo purposes, we enable people to come in and just randomly select some user. But let me give you kind of an insight into what this database looks like. The database has 5 tables: customers, and we have about 37,000 customers who have placed about 500,000 orders, which works out to about 1 million items being ordered. There's a product catalog that's 2,500 or so, and about 7,700 stores. So I'm going to come in and introduce myself as customer Joan Kozak. So once I introduce myself as Joan Kozak, meanwhile, on the left side of the screen, what I'm going to do is show you the information that's available in the database for customer Joan Kozak. So let me go in here and look at this. You don't have to pay attention to all this. I'm just doing this to show you that we're using live data and we're not doing anything, and no magic here. So here's the information that's in the backend database for customer Joan Kozak. You'll notice that she most recently placed an order on the 7th of November, estimated ship date of the 12th, estimated delivery date of the 18th. And we have all the details of, this order has 4 items in different quantities. And each of these items has a weight, price and a color and a category and all that stuff. So let's come back here. The first point I want to make is that, it's a bit of a nuance, but, we have the ability to recognize and address someone if we can recognize their gender. So in this case, Joan was interpreted to be a Mrs. The next, so the first question that I, Joan, am asking is, when will my most recent order be shipped? So here, like I explained previously, we take the question, and then behind the scenes, this gets converted into kind of a quasi SQL query and an appropriate prompt, and then which constructs a prompt that gets sent back to the GPT-4 model on the back end. So you'll notice that the most recent order was placed on the 7th and is expected to be delivered on the 12th. Expected to be shipped on the 12th. The next question Joan asks is, when will it be delivered? And again, you'll notice now that it's all in the context of this order. I didn't have to repeat when will my most recent order be delivered and things like that. And you'll notice that the date is the 18th, and that's what it shows. So now, Joan says, oh no, I have to attend a wedding on that day. Now, in a normal chatbot, the chatbot would respond and say, what are you talking about? We were just talking about products. But in a conversational type situation, when you ask about when something's going to be delivered, and then you follow it up by saying you're attending a wedding on that day, the implication is that you won't be available on that day to pick up your order. And this kind of inference and reasoning is supported by our conversational engine. What this does is, based on this, we give the user the opportunity to reschedule the delivery, or have it delivered to for pickup or something like that. So I just wanted to show you this. I'm not going to connect to a live agent yet at this point, because we showed you that in the previous example. So the next question I have is, what is in the order? And coming back to the database on the left side of my screen, you'll notice that there's like 4 items, and there's like a camera and a skin case and all of these kinds of things. And you can see that the chatbot was able to actually take this very simple question and convert it into a somewhat complicated query on the back end that said, what were the items in the order placed by Joan Kozak in her most recent order? So, so there's a lot of heavy lifting going on in the back end. So now, Joan says, how much did I pay? Now, this information is not in the database. It has to be computed. So we have 4 items. So these are the 4 items. Each of these items has a quantity, which is 1, 2, 2, and 7, and a price. So the system has to actually do some computation on the back end of multiplication and addition to come up with the total for the order. And as you can see, it's capable of doing that as well. So let me ask another question. Is it possible for me to pick up the order from somewhere instead? And in this case, the system has an understanding of the customer's location, and based on the location, they're suggesting the store that's most close by. So let me just go and have more conversational experience here. Let me see. I'm just trying to find. Okay. What categories of products have I purchased? Now, this is, you'll notice that there's a bunch of categories here, and you know, this is a fairly complex query where you have to do some grouping and some, you know, getting out unique values and all of that. So these kind of complex queries are also possible on the back end. I'm going to say, what categories of products have I purchased which are not appliances or devices? So if you look at this list, you'll notice that the only ones that kind of qualify for that are movies and games. I'm going to try asking another question. I don't know if there's an answer for this, but just to show you, you know, that I can ask pretty complicated questions. What categories of products have I purchased which are not appliances or devices, but which are pink? And so it's able to tell me that I have purchased the following pink product. And if you go into this database, so this is a pink, but this is a cell phone. There's another pink, which is a smartphone. This is the only pink item, which is a game and not a device or an appliance. Finally, I wanted to show you the ability to have guardrails on the data. So maybe let's say I say something like, what items have my neighbors bought? The system says, is able to detect that, look, I can only give you information about your order and not about any other stuff. And then, you know, I can ask kind of a completely off the wall, out of context question. And because of the scope guardrails that are in place, the system should reject that and just say, hey, you know, just ask me retail questions. Okay. So, okay, so we'll leave that for now. Coming back to the demo, I wanted to jump into the next demo. Oops. Okay, here we go.
And we already have some questions coming in, Ranjit, but I'm going to park that after the end of your demos.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. So I have I have, how much longer do I have? Just, can you tell me the time?
Yeah, you have 30 more minutes, Ranjit.
Oh, excellent.
I suspect we might want to leave 10 to 15 minutes for questions.
No problem. No problem. Yeah. So I think we should be good with this. So let me talk about the third demo. The third demo is to kind of do the same thing we did. We first showed you unstructured data, then showed you structured data. But this demo is to look at PDF documents. There are some important use cases here. We have you know, banking customers who need to consult various PDF documents anytime, say, for example, they're compiling documents for a loan and things of that sort. There's many procure to pay types of use cases that use PDF documents. There's even situations where a customer might find value in looking up a bunch of PDF manuals. So having the ability to look at unstructured PDF documents is very useful. In this case, we've decided to use the Google Palm 2 model. And Google has really, you know, so in our evaluation of all of these different products, Google did the best job when it came to the ability to extract information from PDF files, including follow-up questions. And the approach we have is relatively more traditional in the sense that what we're doing is vectorizing the information that's in those PDF files and then using our middleware to have to enable the interaction between the customer and the PDF. And the other benefit of using a model like Palm 2 is that it's 5% as expensive as GPT-4 with equivalent quality and in some cases better. So let me show you how that works. The demo is a little bit different. The UI looks a little bit different is what I mean to say. So let me come in here, and this is just a really straightforward, you know, demo. So let me maybe reload the page or something like that, just so it's clean. I'm going to ask a new question, and I'm just going to copy paste these questions from another document. So this is, we have loaded up a document which represents the Hyundai Ioniq vehicle manual. So there's a collection of vehicle manuals that we've indexed, and people can ask questions about that. So the first question is, what does the evasive steering assistant do? And while I do this, let me also show you, you know, what the actual document looks like. This is the actual document. And if you go to page 363, it gives you information on what the evasive steering assist function does. So you'll notice that it says, when a risk of collision is detected, it will warn the driver and all of that. I can sort of ask a follow-up question, which is like, does it work for pedestrians? And you'll notice that it's able to understand that in the context of what I asked about the evasive steering assistant, it can actually work for pedestrians as well. Let me ask a couple more questions. So what adjustments can I make on the front headrests? So in this case, there's some information on page 117 about headrests and things like that. So it says you can adjust them by raising or lowering them and moving them forward or backward. And by the way, in this case, I'm just giving you text responses. But if there are relevant images, we can also present those images back in the response. So you get a good sort of multimedia effect of just simply searching through various PDF documents. The next thing I ask is, okay, let me ask a follow-up. Can I recline the seat back towards the front? Now, what I'm trying to get at is, if my headrest is too high, if you can imagine a car, let's say I'm on the front and I raise my headrest too high and I recline and I move it in the front, it might hit the windshield. I'm kind of looking to get that response. So let me ask a follow-up question. What happens if I do this with the headrest raised? And then here, finally, I get the response that I'm looking for. Is if I recline it towards the front with the seat cushion raised, the headrest will come in contact with the visor as shown over here. Again, this is just an example of where we can take data from all sorts of different documents. And by the way, you can mix and match all of these. You may have some structured data, some unstructured data, and some PDF data, and you can mix all of them into one single chatbot that then goes and pulls the appropriate information. In addition, we can look at data from Salesforce, ServiceNow, Jira, all of these different backend systems, as well as extract text from videos, assuming that there's people speaking and some kind of text in the video. All right, so that was my third demo. I have a couple more that are going to be really quick. The next demo I wanted to show you was the ability to do field extraction. And what this really means is that I can send a sort of semi-structured PDF document into my system, and I can automatically extract some important fields. And so let me set this up for you. Okay, before I do that, so I'll explain what we do here. We're using the Google Palm 2 model again. This does an excellent job of this kind of field extraction. In addition, we're using kind of a toolkit that is available as part of our platform to do language processing and the ability to manage workflows. In this case, there's also no training required. So in other words, I can just specify what fields I want extracted, throw a document at the platform, and it'll extract and display the fields for me. So let me show you that with a demo. In this case, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to be a user, and I'm going to be sending to my email gateway a US bank statement. And I'll show you this statement in a second. I'm going to attach this. And get this ready and send it. So here's what's going to happen. This document is going to go to the backend, and at the backend, you have someone who will inspect the fields that have been extracted from this document in order to make any decision. Maybe they want to make a decision on loans, or they, or something about opening an account or whatever it is. But the important point is that we're taking an unstructured PDF document and automatically extracting the fields, and we're doing this through email. So I'm going to hit send on this email. And coming back here, let me just kind of show you this email gateway that we have. This email gateway should start showing some activity here at the top as this new email comes into it. And so as you can see, it just woke up. There's a US bank statement. And so this text is sent to the back end. And if I click on this, you should see that, I'm getting greens, which means everything kind of worked out fine. I'm going to log in the back end as a user whose job it is to look at these incoming documents. So let me just click on all the tasks. You'll see a new field extractor task got created for me a few seconds ago. So this is a situation where an incoming email can create a task for for one of your employees. I click on this, and you'll notice that it shows a bunch of different fields here. So let me just open this, and you'll see that it gives me a bank address and a bank phone number and the customer address and account number and all of these kinds of things. I can also visually look at this document, and this is a document that was mailed. So this is semi-structured document, but all I had to do was specify which fields I want extracted, email this document in, and it automatically extracted those fields and put them into this form that I show you. So for example, if I look at the ending balance, I look at ending balance 10,500. So that's 10,500. It can even do some things like count. So if I look, the number of checks that were paid is 3. The largest transaction, for example, $3,600, and you'll see that of all the transactions, that is the largest one. And in addition, the ability to extract customer address 1234 Anywhere Drive should be somewhere here. Yeah, there it is. And so the system is able to pull all of this information out, which is a huge time saver. This can be used in very much in a procure to pay kind of situation where you want to initiate the payment cycle by emailing an invoice. In this case, I showed you a bank statement. You can initiate banking transactions by mailing bank statements. We can do invoices. We can do many other kinds of these semi-structured documents. All we have to do is define the fields that need to get extracted. And this can be done without training. So in other words, I don't need to ask you for, give me 100 sample documents so that I can figure out what the patterns are and things like that. All right. Coming up on the final demo, which is really going to be very quick. Okay, the final demo I wanted to show you is something that is unique to Autonom8. We have the ability for you to express workflows. Like I said, we have a workflow platform. What this does is allow you to create workflows, deploy them, run them for your customers and all of that. We now have the ability for you to actually speak into or type into a prompt box. And based on the information in that prompt box, we automatically generate the workflow for you, which is a huge time-saving capability. And it's also a unique capability in this industry. If you look at the entire enterprise workflow automation industry, we are the first ones to do this. And again, we're using the model from Google, which now, their Chat Bison model has a huge token limit and all of that. It's really great. So to be a little technical, what this does is generate a syntax called BPMN under the hood, and this BPMN is a standard notation that can be loaded into your tool. So I'm going to just show you that really quickly, and this will be my final demo. So let's go back here and open up this. So this is it's sort of an empty canvas, and into this canvas, I can actually type in the prompt that I want. So let me just give me a second here. I'm going to copy paste. I'm going to start with something very simple. I'm just going to say create a BPMN workflow for a travel booking process. So this is not technically customer support, but I just wanted to show you this as an example. It says process should include steps for selecting destination, choosing the dates, and making payment. So when I submit this, behind the scenes, what we do is we take this prompt and do a lot of different things behind the scenes to actually create a workflow. So now you'll notice that this has automatically created a workflow for you. And the purple blocks in the workflow are pieces where users have to actually provide input. And the yellow blocks are those where you have some third party, you can say it calls an API or a service. And the system has actually been able to make a distinction between the types of blocks that are required and show you the appropriate one. I'm going to show you one that's a little bit more complicated and more in the context of customer support. Generally, let's say a bug report comes in. Maybe you have ServiceNow, Salesforce, and SAP, and all of these kinds of tools. What you can do is create a workflow that looks exactly like this, and and our platform provides you with all the adapters that you need to connect to all these third-party platforms as well. So I'm going to clear the screen here and type in the workflow that I just showed you.
And Ranjit, would you mind just zooming in a bit so that we know once the output
Sure.
comes through, what's the prompt?
I'll do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
let me do that. Yeah. So here, you'll notice that the system, here's what I said. When an email is received, do the following steps. Respond immediately, acknowledging receipt. So it does that. If this is a bug report, create a ServiceNow ticket and update Salesforce. It does that. If the attachment is an invoice, create a new invoice in SAP, wait for 10 minutes, and then create a new task in Autonom8. Now, it's routed it a little differently than a human might have, but it's remembered to put a 10-minute timer to wait. It's remembered to put in these kinds of email receiving gateways. It's created these business logic branches, and it's created all the tasks that are required in this workflow. So this is quite a remarkable innovation when it comes to the speed with which you can create and deploy workflows. So I just wanted to show this to you because this is something that we've just recently rolled out. It's in production. And if you use our platform, you'll be able to check this out. That's all I had from a demo perspective. How are we doing on time, Ranga? I had a couple more slides.
We have 15 minutes. Do you want to just breeze through them quickly so that we have room for questions?
Yeah, I'll do these
slides. Interesting questions coming up. Yeah.
Okay, sorry, just 2 minutes because this is this was mentioned in the agenda, and I just wanted to make sure I covered it. So let me just talk. I'll finish this in 2 minutes, I promise. So the first, so I want to make a definition which is borrowed from the world of the stock market. In the stock market, there's a concept called efficient frontier. What this means is that in order to maximize your reward and reduce your risk, you set certain parameters, and then the system automatically buys and sells stocks for you based on that efficient frontier to accommodate your risk reward specifications. We are applying that same approach for when you're using models. We have access to dozens of different models through our LLM console, and based on you as a customer, based on your requirements, in terms of data security, in terms of cost, in terms of quality, in terms of response speed, we automatically select the appropriate model that will work for you. Now, you can say, I only want to use GPT-4, and that's fine. But for customers who are willing to or need that kind of flexibility, we provide this capability in our tool. I'm not going to say much about these slides. I'm going to stick them up here, but we have a comprehensive approach to supporting security in terms of data redaction, in terms of sending limited data to third-party LLMs, and we have, like I said, an approach, a comprehensive approach to cost maintenance as well. And the reason I'm putting up these slides here is because so that they show up in the recording, and for all of you'll get a copy of this and be able to go through these at leisure and ask us questions. This is a chart that shows you, kind of an overview of all the different LLMs that we support. Okay, I will stop now, Ranga, and happy to answer questions.
Actually, would you mind keeping the LLM selection considerations full screen? Because I'm just going backwards first. So I'm tackling the question which is freshest at this point. No offense to the questions lined up before that. but it seems to be very pertinent to LLM selection too. So the first question that the audience had for you is, I believe our audience is feeling shy, so they have all asked it anonymously. But the
Okay.
first question that came in is, can A8 make new custom GPT models to work with my tech stack as per the announcement from OpenAI Dev Day last week?
Yeah. So we actually before the announcement came out, we had our own technique for creating these custom GPTs. We on the back end we have some configuration where we can selectively pick the data and then use that to I think the word is ground the GPT model or the LLM to ground the model so that it responds to those questions. We have looked at the announcements, the recent announcements from OpenAI, and we believe that that makes our job a little bit easier, but we haven't yet incorporated that into our application.
Sure, and I believe we would probably also want to include and update this slide for GPT Turbo, I believe, so that the pricing is included for those two. Yeah,
That's a good point. I think primarily due to columnar restrictions on this slide, I kind of summarized everything GPT-4 and everything GPT-3.5 into a single column. But there's multiple columns. Like I said, we have dozens of different models that we can invoke, including Llama, Falcon, all the different Hugging Face models and things like that. I just picked a few. The goal here is actually more to look at the criteria by which we evaluate them than it is to look at any specific model. But the reality is that it's much easier to use these third-party models. If you want to set up your own, if you have sensitivities around security, for example, and you want to set up your own models privately, that's doable, but that's expensive.
Right. And actually, that's a good segue into the next question that our audience had. And they wanted to know, what is our pricing model in the landscape of also talking about the cost to be able to consume these LLMs too.
Right. So if you are using only the third-party LLMs like GPT 3.5, Palm, and things like that, the pricing model is basically the cost of the transaction with a commission on top of it. It's a transactional model, and what we do is, let's say you run a website and your customers ask 100,000 questions in a month, and half of them go to GPT 3.5 and half of them go to GPT-4, for example. What we would do is just charge you the cost for that with a little commission. The reality is that when you actually use it, we don't go back to the LLMs for every question that you ask. We do a lot of what we call response caching. Let me just show you that. That allows you to preserve results from LLMs so that you don't have to go back to it again. So let's say you have, the normal approach when for any website, for any customer, any website where customers interact, you have probably 50 to 100 questions that are kind of the bulk, and then you have this long tail. So what we do is we help you create and cache responses for these top 50 or 100 questions. So you don't even need to go back to the LLM, or you can say, okay, I'll only refresh these questions every 5 days and things of that sort. So the actual cost, even if you have 100,000 queries, would probably work out to the cost of maybe 5,000 to 10,000 queries based on our caching capability and that. Sorry, long answer. Hopefully that was useful.
No, that's interesting, and that also forms the next segue, into the next question too. Is that
okay?
One question is, how quickly can you set up a custom chatbot for our website?
So as I mentioned previously, so if it's website data and it's public data, since we don't scrape your site or do that, we only look up your site when a question gets asked. So we configure this. Configuring a new site is really, honestly, an hour's work. So all we have to do is you give us a list of websites and pages that you want to have indexed. We add it to our index, and you can have a chatbot within an hour that supports that particular, customized data. If you're dealing with structured data, building creating a chatbot for that can take a little bit longer, because we need to understand and map the schema or the data dictionary of your structured data source, and that can take some time. It takes more time if you have a custom database, but if you're using something like ServiceNow or Salesforce, it's much quicker because we understand those schemas right away. And then for PDF, if there's a large number of PDF files, it just takes time to index these files and create, the vector database for these files. So again, we're talking about, a few days to a week kind of approach.
Thank you, Ranjit. And I believe we answered most of the questions which came in the Q&A panel. We still have 5 minutes. So I do have folks in the audience. Anybody who wants to answer or ask a question live to Ranjit, I can selectively enable you so that you can speak up and ask him yourself. Going once, going twice. All right. In case you have any questions and you've probably not had the chance to ask it live, we'll still be circulating the recording and snippets of this particular webinar for whoever has been able to register for these sessions. And you have a chance to just respond to those emails and also come ask us questions over email. But if we don't have any questions, I'm just going to pause for 5 more seconds. If somebody wants to ask a question, either through the Q&A widget or ask Ranjit live, I'm going to give 5 seconds here. Right, looks like it's a slow Thursday, Ranjit, but we'll let folks come to us in due time. But thank you so much for taking us through this session and patiently asking all and answering all these questions. For the folks who are listening in, we will definitely send over the recording and give you a contact info so that you are able to, come back to us with any questions that you might want to ask later. Thank you, and Thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful evening.
Thanks everyone for your time. Thanks, Ranga.
Thank you. Take care, everyone. Bye. Bye, Ranjit.